In this video we're going to have a look at doing a quick sketch style floor plan. Okay, now first thing to do is to decide where to position it on our piece of paper. So what I'm going to do is just I've worked out the sizes, and it's going to be a shop. Okay, so it's about 13 meters by 8.5. So at a scale of 1 to 50 it would just about fit on the paper, but I think it would completely fill it, and I'm going to go for the next scale, 1 to 100. Alright, so it will comfortably fit on the paper. So what I'm going to do first of all is just sort of, having worked out, yep, it'll sort of fit by there, I will draw the two corners using my 6H pencil to start with. Okay, and then I can just tidy up that corner. And once I've tidied up that corner, I can then measure from that corner my 13 meters and my 8.5 meters. Then I use the set square to line back up along that line. And likewise on the bottom here. Okay. So now what I want to do is add in the thicknesses of the walls. So I'm going to do 300 millimeters for our external thicknesses. There we go. And then we can draw those. I would recommend again just making sure that you line up your set square, alright, just to keep them accurate. Okay, so there's the outline of the building. Okay, and now I'm just going to sketch in the internal walls and then the door openings, and then I'll darken it up a bit so it's a bit more clear. So what I've got here is a wall running along the back of the building over there, so I'm going to measure that on both sides. That's another way here, and then have a line going right the way across. So notice I made that wall only 100mm thick, being an internal partition, and just a little wall returning around here. And I'm just keeping about 3 meters there for the counters. There we go. Now I want to just divide up along this back wall here, so got a couple toilet facilities along that back wall. And also a little staff area. Okay, so we got some doorways. Alright, so I'll just try and centre that up by there. There's the centre, and there's my door. Do the same on this one. So I'm finding the centre of that wall and then marking the centre of the door, so I've just centred it in there. You may not always wish to have it centred, so for example on these ones by here, just doing a small return and then putting the door width. So I've made some of the doors wider than others. So I've made those two for disabled toilet access a metre wide, while I've made the rest of them 900mm wide. Okay, and then we'll want another access point over here. So what I'm going to do is give a bit of a return and put the 1500 wide doorway by there. And what I'm doing as well is by here, that is going to be our counter. Okay, so I measured that wall back an 800mm to make that the width of the counter. And what we're having then is a curtain wall shop front along this side with a bit of a return. So I do the return 450 off the interior, and I'll do the same on this side. And I'll measure this coming in over here, so we want about say a metre between there and the doorway, and a nice wide pair of doors by there, just so I know where those are. Okay, so what I'm going to do there is put another little window just in that area, because that's going to be my sort of staff rest area. So just a little window by here, metre wide, that's fine. And then I'm going to use my HB pencil to just darken up and make it look a little bit tidier. Trying not to go over where the doorways are, but we can always touch it up with a pencil, rubber afterwards. I went a bit off, should have been a bit more careful there, shouldn't I? What happened there? Okay. Okay, and of course there's a little door by here which I haven't drawn in, so I'll just mark that now. And then we'll darken up that wall across the centre, so it just makes it all stand out a little bit. Okay, where we've got doors and windows, what I'm going to do now is use a different pencil. I'm going to use my 2H, and I'm going to draw a pair of lines to represent the windows, and we could give little returns on them, little frames for the doors as well. There we go. And then a pair of lines coming in. So just put these lines really close together. And if you've got a compass, you could do from the centre point arcing outwards, or if you haven't got a compass to hand, make sure you do measure where the centre is by there, and then you could just use a 45-degree line coming off that, like that, just to show the swings on those doors. Like I said, just touch things up then with your rubber just to tidy it. Okay, and likewise we'd want to put the rest of the doors in there then, so again put a little frame on that one there. Okay, so there's doors. Okay, and we got some glazing. We got another window over there just to put in. Alright, bearing in mind this is just a sketch. Alright, so that's enough detail for that. So what I want to do now is add in some of the shop interiors. So what I'm going to do is just put in some counters and shelving. Again, I've stuck with my 2H pencil just so that there's a contrast between the walls and the shelving, so it's easy to identify. In this corner over here I'll stick something a bit larger, so we'll put the fridges. then some more shelving across that back wall with a nice space by there, and we'll come away from there a little bit as well. Okay, and then in here we'll leave plenty of walking space for people. And that'll mark just lightly by there the ends of those shelves. And we'll just line those up along this end over here. And then just tidy that up. So the next thing to do with our floor plan sketch here is we want to start doing a bit of labelling, and in particular dimensions, and identifying what the rooms are. So I'm going to go back to my HB, and I'll put WC on these. Okay, and then if you've got a stencil, you could use a stencil, but otherwise you could just sketch in a toilet and a sink. Alright, you could do that a bit more tidily than I've done by using a ruler. But you're getting the idea. Okay, in this little corner by here I'm just going to put a little staff kitchen unit for a sink. So for the sink I'll do that one a little bit tidier. There we go. Okay. Then we could again go back to labelling and just put staff. So that's like a rest area, and this is a store. Okay. And we'll have our tills on here. So probably measure the tills out, but I'm just going to quickly sketch them just to show you. And then you could... Okay, so for labelling purposes, because we are going to have a separate sheet, so you could write notes down the sides, okay, or you could write them on a separate sheet of paper. What I would recommend you do though is actually put like a number in a circle at these different areas to indicate what they are, and likewise for the material finishes as well. You could do that for the floor there, and then for perhaps the wall you could put another one close to the wall by there. and maybe then something different in the store area, because of course that's not a customer area. And then what's the floor like in these areas here? So again, you can just keep on numbering them and identifying what the finishes are, and of course link it back to the design brief. Okay, so this would be the till. So again, I'll probably just put another number by there and then write a description of that off to one side. But what we do want to have on here is our dimensions. So very important that you do dimension the building. So I'm going to do, using the 6H pencil first of all, I'm just doing a few lines coming off there, and then I'm going to line it up like so. So what I'm doing is one that's picking up the internals and one that's just picking up an overall exterior. Okay, so of course this was 8.5 meters and we got a 2 meter room there, and then that leaves 3, 6, 7, so 2, 7 off that is going to be 5, 8. And then just darken up your dimension lines once you've got them in the right place. So this is something to bear in mind as well when you're planning where to put it on the drawing page, is that it's not just the size of the building you want to think about, but you want to think about space to write the dimensions around the building as well. Now on this side over here, I'm going to be doing an extra set of lines because we've got one for the openings as well as one for the internal walls. So notice how I've separated those out so it doesn't get confusing. So just double check some of these. Okay, so we're looking at about 900 and 1500. And then okay, and then of course the overall dimension is 13, so 13 minus those. Alright, so that's 2, 4, 5, 7, 6, 7. So that's going to leave me 6,300. There we go. And then these 15. That was 2.5. Okay, so then you've got 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you've got 12, 3 meters. So what was that again? 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1 meter off there. So we've got 3 meters, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 8 in total. So we should be left with about 5 meters there for the internal. That's good. So just double check your dimensions, make sure they work. Alright, so that's dimensioned up again, just darken up the lines, make it look nice. Okay, and then you can repeat the process around the other two sides. So that basically gives you an idea of how to produce a floor plan sketch. Okay, and we want it annotated and labelled up, okay, with dimensions. So hope you find that helpful, and don't forget, always relate it back to the design brief so that you can make sure you do hit those marks in the exam.